Welcome to Own It, Your Business and Your Life with Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. In this podcast, we're going to cover everything you need to embrace to become a successful entrepreneur, marketing, money, and much, much more. How to create a business doing just what you love. How to own it, your business and your life. This one will be fast, funny, feisty, and very lively. So sit back and enjoy the show. Morning.
Are you there?
Yes, I am indeed.
Hello.
I was there already.
Tell me about your week.
Okay, so this week has largely been about me trying not to worry about the COVID-19 virus.
Darling, in a private message to me, you kept restating you were not worried. Why have you suddenly turned into a worrier about it?
I'm not. That's the point, Joe. As I put in my message to you, Jude, but for the benefit of the readers who might have heard me mention it last week, I couldn't stop thinking about it, and I couldn't understand why I couldn't stop thinking about it.
Okay.
So then I was thinking about what would happen in the event of, quarantines and things, because of all the 12... I tell you what happened. 12 towns got quarantined in Italy. People got quarantined in a hotel in Tenerife. And I was thinking, well, what if that happened here? What would we do? And then I realised that it wasn't so much the thought of perhaps dying, because I am 59, that worried me. It wasn't the thought of being quarantined for 2 to 3 weeks that worried me. It was the thought of being quarantined with no food that was worrying me.
Has anybody said that quarantine involves no food?
Well, it does, because they just shut things down. And, of course, the co-op aren't going to be able to get their supplies to my local co-op because everyone's going to be sick, and the drivers and all that stuff. So, and then people will start panic buying, so there won't be any food. The people in Tenerife...
I honestly can't even be bothered to focus on this, because where are you getting your intel from? The news?
Twitter.
Where? Twitter? Okay.
Yes.
All right. Okay.
Well, because...
I can't debate this with you, because I don't know anything about it, and I'm not worried about it.
Right. Well, I don't want to debate it with you. I just want to tell you that I've come up with a plan to stop me worrying. And I realised it was the thought of being stuck in the flat for 3 weeks with no food with 2 hungry young adults, Phoebe gets particularly hangry, I thought, okay, so what can I do to make this better? I could lay in some supplies, and then I wouldn't be worried. I just know I was prepared, as prepared as you can be. And you can actually buy things on Amazon that will filtrate 1,000 litres of water for $16. So I thought I could get us one of those each. That's the water situation taken care of. And then as long as we've got food and headache pills and stuff like that, then we're good to go, aren't we, for 3 weeks? So I've then sparked up Tesco's, and I have my doomsday order ready, my doomsday shopping basket. So then I immediately stop worrying, because I know I'm ready to go if things start to escalate in the UK.
So the cure for this is, the answer to this is preparedness. Dib, 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 like the Boy Scouts.
Yes. Yeah. And I'm not, obviously not going to get... Someone said, you'll need a gun license. I said, why? You need to take pot shots of people trying to steal once word gets around.
I did say that. I did say there would be martial law if we get to that. And that's why, to keep the population, under control. I was going to say safe, but under control.
They do enforce these quarantines. You're not allowed out, right? Anyway, point is, so I stopped worrying about that once my Tesco order was ready. And then I went out for poker with Pete Jenkins last night.
Stop. If you're not allowed out, how are Tesco going to get in?
Well, I'm going to order it now.
Oh, now? So you're going to, you really are going to be a prepper. Whether or not you need it, you're going to get supplies in.
Yes, because I'm only going to buy stuff that we will eat anyway over the next few months. And then I can act like the co-op to the kids, because the kids... They were laughing at me like I was a complete loon. And I said, so what's going to happen then when we're all under quarantine and you guys want some of my food?
Yeah, I suppose that's the thing when you live with your mum, isn't it? Is actually, it kicks you back into childhood in a way, which is we can rely on mum. And also, mums generally would feed their kids first.
Well, I thought, Phoebe texted me and she said, I'll chip in for this. She said, but we can't let Nelson have any. And I said, oh, you meanie, I can't believe you're saying that. And she said, well, if he won't chip in for it, he's not going to get any. I said, we could sell it to him at a little markup, couldn't we? So I
think if it's a matter of life and death, money doesn't come into it. You and Phoebe are going to keep him alive.
Oh, no, but it'll be annoying, won't it? It will be annoying if he...
No, because you'll be focused on much more practical matters. Can we go back to the headache tablets? Are you saying you can't get through 3 weeks without a headache tablet?
No, I'm saying that if we all get the COVID.
Oh, I see. Right.
Headache tablets, won't we?
Okay, I don't know. I would think they'd be the least quite inadequate if anybody gets this virus.
Well, no, it's
of the lungs, isn't it? It's a disease of the lungs. You can't breathe.
It is, but it's also a high temperature and a headache. So I thought if I get some stuff for flu, and then at least we'll be able to alleviate the symptoms. So
I think this is like spitting on a fire in an attempt to put it out.
Yeah. So what's the alternative then?
If the COVID virus knocks at your door, which I think is yes, because it isn't really very real. Honestly, let's go there.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll see, won't we? Because either I'll be right or I'll be wrong, and if I'm wrong, I'll have a big pile of food in my corner of my bedroom under a blanket, which I can then sell to the children over the next 3 months. Right, so then I went out last night with poker with Pete Jenkins, obviously not taking it seriously enough to avoid crowded places. And as it turned out, the poker wasn't very crowded. It was just a one table game with a right bunch of wrong ones, as they say. And he thought he'd played poker before, but it turns out he's been playing pontoon, whatever that is. And,
it's 21, isn't it, pontoon?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never played it, and so he's a gamification expert, if you recall. So he was picking it up quite quickly, and actually ended up winning because it was a £5 buy-in, and there was about how many people around the table? 8 people around the table, £5 buy-in. You were allowed to rebuy it at the break. So 10, 80 quid. So I think it was 45 quid and 25 quid was the prize pots, and he walked away with the 45 quid prize pot. So
have you noticed how often novices do win the first time? I think the first time I played poker I won, and the first time somebody taught me what's that thing with dice on a board, baccarat or something. What's that thing? Okay. Yes, you do. There's you open up a thing and you throw dice and it begins with B. I forget what it's called.
Yeah, somebody taught.
Yeah, so somebody taught me that, and I what? Backgammon, that's it, backgammon. Somebody taught me that and I won. I think often novices do win.
Yes, exactly. And I remember the first time Phoebe played, she won as well. So So it's quite common, isn't it? But we enjoyed it. It was just oddball enough to bring us back, I think, and it was quite a fun evening.
Was it locally? Was it in Shoreham?
Yes, it was just up the road, so nice and convenient. Pete's moved back to Shoreham Beach now, so he's local as well now. So that was pretty much my week, really.
So my week is I'm really enjoying all the stepped up intensive woo-woo and brain training, and the stats on the brain training, my stats on the brain training are excellent. With my new one, which is called Elevate, which I've only been doing in February, all my measurables are in the 80%, and I'm nearly 100 on my favourite, which is logical reasoning. And it's good to know what you aren't so good at, so that you can, if you want, bring those scores up to a higher level. But I've noticed something about my learning style, and one of the apps wants to teach me where I went wrong, and I always decline. I'd rather have another go as a way of learning. I want to learn by doing, but we know this about ourselves, don't we?
Yeah. Yes.
We like to learn by doing.
Yes, I like a bit of tuition and then try it out.
Yeah, I don't think the tuition is very good on Elevate. It's quite, because it gets me to do things with my finger I'm not familiar with doing, so that even though it teaches me, I don't really know what I'm supposed to do until I've done it. So actually, it's absolutely the opposite of what we just agreed. Novices don't win on Elevate, and novices have to learn how to play the game. It's more than that, really. It's a little bit trickier than that. But anyway, Elevate measures 4 areas, and I'm advanced into an expert in the other 2. And in some cases, my performance has doubled in a few short weeks, which I've been doing. And I think that's amazing. And it's reminded me that practice makes perfect, that daily habits and application increase ease and agility. I'm loving the brain training and all the woo-woo and the music and the affirmations, but I'm particularly loving the way Elevate measures my progress.
Talking of the meditation, I enjoyed it so much on Saturday and Sunday. I gave myself an extra half an hour.
Yes, well, I mean, the tinkly music, I pretty much have it going, not now, but I like my silence a lot as well, but mostly I have it going at a very low level. In the first one, there's a lovely picture that's the full screen of my television, which, as I've already told you, is huge. It must be, 5 foot by 4 foot or something.
Good God.
Is just a beautiful picture of the blue sea.
Yeah.
And I always hope to look up from what I'm doing when it's just the sea, and then I could just sit and look at the sea. So no islands, no boats, no nothing, just the sea gently sort of rising and falling and doing little wavy things without foam. But it's like I actually could hack that being the picture all the way through because it's so peaceful. I'm not bothered with watching those people do yoga. I don't find that particularly anything, to be honest.
No, good stuff. So what's fueled your fire this week then?
Well, nice words from one of our top fans, Robin B, who, she shared the one that we did with the aeroplane, the one about the, what can money buy? And she shared it sort of with her friends and said how much she liked us. But I could just as easily have put what I'm about to tell you in Who or What's Impressed, because she's inspired me to be a better version of myself. So she put, "Good on you, Judith. Yes. Step up. I'm so glad you'll be doing that. There's a new wave of women coming online and speaking, mature women of our age who have until now remained private. I love listening to you, and so do many other women. You stimulate the atmosphere, the conversation. You are eloquent, brave, and courageous, and we need women like that speaking to us, men included. Strong, clear, confident female voices standing in our own authority." I mean, she is a wonderful fan for us, isn't she?
Yes, we love hearing things like this.
Obviously. I mean, the only things I do these days are the podcast and my clients. So what fueled your fire has to come from one or somebody being nice about one or other of those.
Yeah, very good. Very good.
What's fueled yours?
Well, I finished the Helen Pritchard challenge on Friday, and she finished it off with a live with wine, which was quite fun. And she's got a very nice household with lots of teenagers coming and going and their friends and things. And it really reminded me of the good old days when our two were like that and always had friends coming in and out. And then I realised that it's had quite an effect on my LinkedIn attitude. And I was already putting, as you know, daily clips from the podcast on, and that had made a huge difference. It had taken me from 5 or 6 views a week to 35. And doing Helen's challenge, and the thing that's nice about Helen's challenge is it doesn't involve reaching out and sending spamming messages to anyone. It involves making contact with people, developing relationships with people, and putting out great content and letting them come to you. But it elevated my 35 or so views of my profile a week up to by 70% in the first week of the challenge, and since then it's up even further to 38% higher. So I think, that free challenge is well worth doing. And I actually told someone about it the other day who could spread it to a lot of people who would find it useful, I think. So that's what was fueled by fire. I like her a lot. I like her attitude. I like her morals, or whatever they're called. What is that word?
Values.
Yes, that's it. I like that. And I love the way she's so straight talking. She just absolutely doesn't mince her words at all, which I like enormously. That's why I'm here with you, Judith.
I don't understand the maths. Up by 70% and then up by 30% or something like that. Can you restate the maths? It didn't make sense to me.
Yeah, well, it basically, I was getting 5 or 6 views a week, and I personally, on my own efforts, got it up.
Yes, got up to 35. Yes,
a week.
Yes.
And then in the week of doing the challenge, that was up by 70%. So up to nearly
up by 70%
yes.
To what, 80-ish?
Yes, and then I'm up a further 38% this week on that, so I'm nearly up to 100 views a week.
Okay.
Silence while she works it out.
It's X factor maths, isn't it? 70% plus 38% is 108%. I'm just checking. I didn't understand what you said the first time. I think I've got it the second time. Now, any more in Fueled Your Fire?
No.
Right, shall we move on to Focus of the Week?
Yes, why not?
All right, so this is a strange one for us. Last weekend, a friend who was applying for a job asked if I would help. Strange request in a way, because I don't really know anything about applying for a job, but what she said she wanted was my creator. And she particularly wanted me, because I know her very well, she wanted me to pass comment or help her make up her mind about what she was going to talk about in one of the challenges that she had to do on the day. She had to talk for 8 minutes about her greatest achievement. And the difficulty was it couldn't be anything to do with work or your personal life of being a wife or mother.
Oh, okay.
Well, I mean, I've never been a wife or mother, but really all I've done is work in my life. And it rules out my book, which I do feel to be one of my greatest achievements because I feel that's very much related with my work. She kept bringing up my book. And I said, well, we can't have it, can we? Because it's to do with my work. So I flashed this at you and said, can we talk about our greatest achievements? The rider on the question was, what's your greatest achievement? They were obviously trying to find out something about the person, not the person at work and not the person at home, the person in her own right. And also they wanted to know, when you describe whatever it is you think is your greatest achievement or biggest achievement or something, how did you do it? What's your MO for successfully bringing something about?
Okay.
Now, I've got 3 achievements. I wouldn't call any of them my greatest achievement, but they're quite brave, fun things I'm a bit proud of. Mm-hmm. Shall I go with them, or would you like to go first?
No, you go first.
Well, in the days in my life when I did have time and money for hobbies that involved leaving the house, I used to be in a lot of choirs in central London. And as a result of that, I've sung at the Albert Hall, the Festival Hall, and the Barbican. And which was just the most thrilling experience of my life. I was a good singer. I was in fantastic music. Sometimes I was in quite small groups on the front of the stage, which you could tell it was my singing, not just me in the choir. I had these beautiful frocks made. One had like a taffeta skirt and a velvet bodice, and another one was just pure silk. I looked lovely. I knew I was good at singing. My voice was at the top of its game, and I was performing at the top of the game that I could whilst remaining an amateur.
Yeah.
I'm quite proud of that. How did I do it? Well, I went to choir practice every week. I left the house. I went to choir practice every week. I was quite diligent about being good at my part. I passed auditions. Stephen something or another, I can't remember what his name was, who conducted the BBC, said it was impossible for me to sing out of tune, which was very nice. Once you know that when you go to an audition, it's not so difficult. I'll keep going because none of these are my greatest achievement. In 2 years in the 80s, I drove to and from Italy in a BMW 1 year and another German car another year by myself, pre-sat-nav over 2 or 3 days. So down through France, through Switzerland, into Italy. It's about 1,000 miles in each direction. The first time I did it not by myself, I did it with a boyfriend. We went down to Italy and then back to Spain, and I dropped him off in Spain because he was going to go and live in Mallorca, and a colleague of mine flew out, and then we drove back from Spain through France. But the next year in a BMW 5 Series, I did it by myself.
Wow.
That was an exciting adventure. I'm quite proud of it because it was like 2 or 3 days if you're on your own, and I had to write what roads to look out for on the back of an envelope because you're driving.
You did those days, yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Look at maps, can you?
Exactly. So you had to look at the map the night before, and then it had to say, the F167 to Lyon, the A123 from there. You had to do it, while you were driving along. Really.
Yes.
So it was quite brave.
Yeah.
I think bravery is a theme here. So my third and final one is flying business class and upper class on my own dime. And the first time I flew to New York business class, I thought was the best day of my life. And flying in from JFK to Manhattan on the helicopter.
Oh, fabulous. I'd love to do that.
What happened was the Christmas before was the first Christmas after my dad had his first heart attack, and my brother was working in New York, and I persuaded the family, look, we didn't really know how long my dad was going to live for. As it happens, it was 8 years. But we all went to New York for Christmas, and my dad paid for my ticket, and he and my mum flew together, and he bought me something on some dodgy airline that leaked, and it was the worst day of my life. So the next time I went, sod this for a game of soldiers. I'm going to buy my own business class ticket. And I just thought it was heaven. I was only in my 30s, and it was a lifelong well, it began a lifelong love affair with business class. It's so comparatively comfortable and elegant. And I love that sort of real silver, real napkins, real glasses thing. And honestly, if I can't go business class, I don't want to go. Being uncomfortable robs all the joy of travel for me. And the airport plane combination is a very big factor of a holiday. And I realise how sensitive I am to my personal comfort. But that day, when you think back to sort of big days in your life, that day of using my own money to fly business class and then getting the helicopter into town, I just felt like queen of the world.
Yes.
Really. So how did I do that? There's a sort of bravery. I was much braver when I was a younger woman. I would drive to Italy and back now because I'm not frightened of driving. My voice isn't good enough to sing at any of those top venues anymore. It could come back, but not to the extent that I would want to do that, but it was fun. And flying business and upper class, yes, that not a thing I really think about very much now. I do remember the first time I did that. One of my life's ambitions at the time was to own my own Christmas tin of Quality Street, and I think I managed to achieve that in the same year.
Oh God. Truly grown up, that
yeah,
is.
So
Quality Street.
What's your MO for successfully bringing something about? Bravery, actually, just sort of gung-ho, just come on then, let's do it. I remember when I was in the choirs, quite often we would say, let's go for a gin and tonic, and some woman would say, oh, do you think we dare? I was, oh, for heaven's sake, come on. You know, people are quite cowed and sheepish. Dare? Well, we were quite young and we were all dressed up, and people in gangs think that they have to have permission from the leader to behave. They lose all their autonomy.
Yes. Yes.
You know, so what if we're called while we're in the bar? Well, you know, I can think of worse things than that, quite frankly. But, you know, there's a sort of, I had a gung-ho-ness.
Yes.
That was my MO. It was a sort of gung-ho-ness. That sounds like fun. Let's have a go.
Yes.
What about you?
Yeah, similar kinds of things, really. If I knock out the mum bits and the work bits, then I've written down here, finally managing to get my head straight after 2010, 2015 wilderness years, as I call them.
Yeah.
It took longer than it should have done. It was a confidence issue, and I should have had more confidence quicker back. Because when I think about it, I blamed myself very much for that, and I shouldn't have done, because it was a blooming worldwide recession with a global credit crunch. But, you know, you do, don't you? So getting my head finally straight through a number of things that I hadn't done before in my life, like meditating and journaling.
Yeah, I remember you getting into journaling, and meditating came a bit afterwards, I think.
Yes, but yeah, I was meditating, and I was listening to people like, what's his name? The hypnotist, magician chap.
Paul McKenna.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
And then recover. As soon as I got my head straight from that, coping and recovering from grief. Coping with grief I'd never experienced before, and knowing that it would pass eventually, and just have to grit your teeth and get through it. And then recovering from, I honestly never thought I'd get over that, but then the little glimmers of hope started showing. Hope that there would be a fun and happiness in my life again. So I'm really pretty proud of that, because it wasn't quite an ordeal. And then I drove across America with my mates. Yes. And that was, I had to face a lot of fears to do that.
Yes.
Not least of brown recluse spiders, if you recall.
Yes, but also you're not such a brave driver, so that would have been quite an impressive thing for you, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And we were driving Mustangs, which were sports cars. I'd never driven those before. We were driving them with the top down largely. We ended up doing a lot of things that pushed my envelope, like all sorts of things. And it was just great fun, and I look back on that as a very magical experience, with lots of laughs, which was nice. Then I learned to trade. I honestly thought, do you remember, Judith, when we were at the money gym, we used to go to these workshops, stock trading workshops and things.
Usually with Marcus, mainly with Marcus, wasn't it?
Yeah, Marcus to Maria, yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking to myself, now this is something I'm never going to be able to do. I just and Marcus was better than most people at explaining.
He was, I agree, and he's a kind man as well to learners.
Yeah, you know? He's a solid bloke. So if you are thinking of learning to trade, then I really would recommend Marcus de Maria. He was a straight shooter, and his wife was lovely too. So I remember thinking, I'm never going to be able to do that. That is all numbers and sums, and it all has to be done too quickly, and I'm never going to be able to understand it. But then when I was in Greece, I started to think, I quite like to learn to trade. And I started just watching these videos by these guys called the Chart Guys. And just by watching these 10-minute videos every day, I didn't understand 99% of it, then I didn't understand 95% of it, then I didn't understand 90% of it. And by sheer dint of watching this chap, again, who speaks in plain language and is quite down to earth, I was able to pick up enough to start to understand it. And then I did one of their courses and I understood a bit more. And gradually, I've not only learned to trade Bitcoin, I've actually just opened a trading account for American shares. So, I've taught myself something that I never thought I'd be able to learn, just by sheer dint of repetition, I suppose, again. And then finally, about learning to write. I never thought I'd be able to write a book. I now think I could, and I'm 20,000 words into it. I have written a screenplay, and I've got ideas for several more. I've started applying to things where I would be in, situations where I'd have to be creative on the hoof, as it were, and I don't feel fazed by that. So I think...
What's your MO? What's your MO? Yeah, recurring theme. Yeah,
the recurring theme, I think, is bravery and a willingness to learn and keep studying and learn new things.
I think you like learning for its own sake a bit, don't you? Yeah.
I do. Do you remember back in the day when we had core values and core needs?
Yes, that was from
Leonard.
Yes, but what was his Coach U, wasn't it?
Coach U, yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, one of my core needs was to learn, and one of my core values was to learn. So, I love to learn. It gives me joy, and I think I would stultify without it. So, so those are mine.
Let's go to the thought of it's not an easy challenge, is it? So, I mean, let's talk about mostly, but not exclusively, women who have been wives and mothers and self-employed, the core of our audience. How much time do they have for doing something heroic on the side? I mean, I do know that people do things like sort of park running, and they do things like climbing Kilimanjaro and things like that. But honestly, I don't know that even without being a wife and mother, given that my careerism and ambition and how much time and effort it takes to be a successful business owner, I don't know that I would have had time for the sort of things this challenge was designed to bring out of you.
Well, I think most people have a job that takes up their attention while they're at the job, but then they've got an awful lot of hours outside the job to fill, haven't they?
Well, it works better in the job scenario. You're right, actually, doesn't it? Because we think, although we don't know because we've never had a job, that people in jobs don't like it, so they spend all their time plotting what they're going to do with their leisure time to make their lives work. So this in your business and your life, in that example, it would be your job and your life, and so they've invested a lot in their life that they've got to talk about. I'm trying to think, who do you know that's done things like climbing Kilimanjaro? I think Sarah certainly has climbed that bridge in Sydney, hasn't she?
Irving's run several marathons.
Yeah, all my family have run marathons except the youngest one. He's going to do it this year, I think. But they've all got jobs.
Yes, they have. I don't think it's necessarily even if they don't like their jobs. I think you can like your job, but you still walk out of it at 5:30. Don't give it another thought.
Yeah.
So you've got all that brain space to fill in the evenings and weekends.
So, is there an achievement? I haven't given this any thought in advance. It's just a question that's occurring to me. I mean, I've no desire to walk up Kilimanjaro or anything like that. But is there anything and I know we're going to talk bucket list in future weeks, is there anything in this category you think, oh, I wish I'd had a go at that while I was younger, or I'd quite like to still have a go at this now, or is there something?
Yeah, I mean, I would have loved to have gone to university.
That's interesting. And that might have been a biggest achievement, mightn't it, in many respects? Because you always proudly tell us about your CS, whatever we used to call them.
CSEs or whatever.
Yeah, CSE English.
CSEs,
yeah. So would you consider it now?
No, because it would be too slow for me now.
Yes.
I prefer deep dive immersion learning.
Yes,
now.
yes.
And, there's actually a word for it, ultra learning it's called.
Okay.
And actually they encourage people in computer programming to do it more than to do it slowly over spread out.
Yes, makes sense with certain things. Yes.
It does.
And anything else like that?
No, there's lots of bucket listy kind of things, but
save those. Yeah. I'm not very brave now. When we're on holiday, my friend Nicola, she does things like wing walking and jumping out of aeroplanes, jumping off mountains and going on quad bikes and things like that. Nothing physical interests me in terms of skiing or nothing. I am scared of breaking something on that sort of thing.
Yeah. I do remember getting in when we went on the cruise once. I booked a trip to go to, I don't know, a teeny tiny little island that was only accessible by one of those planes where you get in and you're sitting pretty much on the.
Well, as we call them in my family, balsa wood. They're made of balsa wood, which are those ones you used to make when you were a child, or my brother did. Yeah,
I was absolutely terrified of that.
Yeah,
but I did it because I wanted to test my theory that I'd been cured of my fear of flying when I went to Rich Sheffrin's weekend.
And
I had been cured of flying.
Yeah, I think we are right to be frightened of those tiny balsa wood planes. To be honest,
I think So yes, it's about overcoming fear for me, I think, and just overcoming fear, because university degree doesn't mean much at all about anything, does it? Really, if I'd have achieved that. So
I slightly envy the people I know, some of whom are clients, most of whom are clients, who go and do a sort of creative writing MA for 3 years, or even a creative anything MA for 3 years. If you live near, there are several centres of excellence in the UK for that, and if you live nearby, it's almost rude not to, in a funny sort of way. But no, I wouldn't like that. Let me try and think of something I would like. I do think this is quite an interesting idea. Obviously you can go on achieving and reinventing yourself ad nauseam forever, can't you?
You should, because it keeps you young, doesn't it?
Well, it keeps you alive and interesting, I guess. There isn't much, I don't think. I did notice on Trusted House Sitters this week a couple of gigs in France looking after houses and things like that. They all sounded a bit like hard work, but I did allow my mind to sort of rifle through it and think, would I like that? It's I can't think of anything.
A bit scary. Why is it scary? The idea. It is. I'm saying it is to me.
What?
But why is it? The idea of looking after a house in a foreign country is scarier than looking after a house in the UK.
I don't think of France as very foreign, actually. But these were big ones that did. I would have to do things like house cleaning and turning beds around when people came. Exactly.
No.
Yeah.
That's work.
Well, domestic servant, yes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Quite.
There was one that Sarah and I looked at where part of the gig was that you had to regularly shoot these large rodents, and they provided the guns and the ammo and how to do it.
Well, now I'm glad you brought up guns, because you did that in America. I've never done that. I'd love to do that. I'd love to go to a shooting range and have a go. Brilliant.
Yeah, it was good fun. I highly recommend it.
Is that easy or even possible in the UK? Do we have firing ranges?
Yes, we do. Yeah, you can.
I wouldn't mind having a go at that.
I think you'd be very good, Judith. The thought of you armed and dangerous is quite terrifying.
Well, they're not necessarily the same thing. You can just think of me as armed. Now, here we go. I'm having another thought. Because MasterChef started this week, didn't it?
Love
and
it.
Generally, I don't always watch it, but I'm in on this one. But last week, you mentioned that your older friend wasn't allowed because he wouldn't go on and have a restaurant. And then last night's episode had your man in with the ridiculous moustache, didn't it?
Oh, yes. He came back as a guest.
He's your man, isn't he? He's local to you.
Is he? What, the one with the moustache?
Look, isn't he Kenny Tutt?
No, I don't know. Kenny Tutt doesn't have a moustache that I'm aware of.
Oh, thank heavens, because this guy's got a ridiculous one. Anyway, the point of this story is, and it's the thing that I admire, not really about the X Factor people, but certainly about the MasterChef people, because there's so few of them. Last night, for instance, did you watch last night's?
I haven't seen it yet.
Well, I won't spoil it. A man came on with a bald head who clearly fancied himself as a cook, not in an offensive way, but he said in his opening thing, my wife and I travel a lot in Europe and I want to open up a cooking school in, I can't remember whether he said Italy or France or Spain, but somewhere like that. And I thought to myself, oh dear, don't say that, because you're going to go home tonight, aren't you? And then how are you going to open up your cooking school if you were the one that went out in the first round at MasterChef? Yeah. But the point is, what I admire about them is they're prepared to put themselves in a competition to a test in primetime television for us all watching and tutting from the sofa.
Yes. And we know how some people are too terrified to do that,
Well, I'm too terrified to do that. That is bravery beyond my own levels of bravery.
Yeah, I love to cook, but I couldn't do MasterChef because it involves far too much work that I can tell.
Well, I mean, and even the what do you call them? Very, very confident ones. When they sit down on the chair after they fed the critics, they go, "God, that was much harder than I ever imagined it could be." Very physical. Yeah. But it's not so much that, because the first episode we had those three nice women back, didn't we? Irene and the Scottish woman and
that was great watching.
That was lovely. And they're so lovely, and they were nice to each other even last year, and not very competitive, but they were, they put themselves through a lot.
Yeah.
And that, we've discussed this before, these days, oddly, that's a fast route to achieving your dreams and ambitions, isn't it? If you're successful, if you're prepared to put yourself to that test.
Yeah. Wasn't Irene's hair lovely?
Yes.
I really liked her hair.
Yes.
I thought that was...
But they're all experts now. They were amateurs before, now they're experts.
And they all did something together for Women of Achievement or something, didn't they? They all worked together on a special project.
Yes, they did. They did. Now, I wouldn't want to do that, but that would be, that's something you could do with a job, because she's a policeman, the little one. If you were asked this in a job application, which is the point of the context of this, you could say, I went into MasterChef and came, I can't remember what she came, second or third.
Yes, I was on
first.
MasterChef finalist. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, that would be that. Would be okay. So that's the kind of thing we're talking about here, isn't it? Achievements outside.
Well, we haven't got any
work.
Yes. And do you think? I mean, I'd love to hear the listeners, if they've got them, please share them in the Facebook group. But do you think it's something that you and I, should actively look? I mean, I think you'll be all consumed with your screenwriting when you get called to one of these things. But do you think it's something that's desirable for us all? So it's like a third dimension, isn't it? It's not your private life. It's not your work life. It's you on your own in your hobby space.
Yes. And I'm going to record 3 episodes of a podcast now, while I'm waiting to hear about the screenwriting, just in case I get through to anything, because then I can carry on the podcast. And because I've been listening to Sam and Jim Go to Hollywood, and they started it before anything actually happened for them. And they, the part that they said that they get listened to by so many different people, and it's not even people who want to become screenwriters. It's just people who love hearing about the journey.
Yeah.
So I think, that would be a nice thing to do. I think, summing it up for me, achievement for me is creating something where nothing was before.
Yes, which we can't help ourselves do. Absolutely right. And I've written here, excitement, adventure, big days, like the day you publish your first book, which is one to be proud of. And for me, to some extent, this is a historic thing, which you and I have been private messaging about, as I no longer measure my life by, as successful, by achievement. And that's been a long time in the making. Yes. And I can see why when you go for a job interview, you might have to demonstrate success in achievement, because that's what they're hiring you for, isn't it?
Yeah. I think my biggest achievement is going from a place. I remember when I was a teenager, I was so racked by emotion. I was driven by emotion. I was ruled by emotion. I remember one day I had to leave work because I was so upset about something. And I just am so proud of the fact that I've, over my 58 years or whatever it is, I've learned to control my emotions. And that is a huge achievement for me, because I thought that was how it was going to be.
And so actually, just by discussing it, we've got to your greatest achievement.
Yes, we have.
I'm writing here, learn to master my emotions.
Yeah, I've learned to put that space between reaction and what's it called?
Yeah.
Emotional
but could you make an 8-minute presentation on that, which was interesting and amusing?
Yes, because I could tell some very funny stories.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and you were allowed to have handouts or a PowerPoint presentation if you wanted as well.
Oh, very good. I once had to do a presentation for when I went to apply for British Telecom's Talkabout, which was like when they first opened up the things where people could dial in and chat to other people. Do you remember? They used to have monitors, and I was a team leader of lots of monitors, and those people had to keep the talk away from sex and stop people swapping phone numbers and things like this. Anyway, I had to go up to the Black Country for my training course, and I remember I had to stand up and do a presentation and my topic I was given was cleaning windows. So I had to do a lot of research without any internet or anything, and then do a presentation and demonstration of cleaning windows with newspaper and vinegar. Worked a treat. I remember that was my first public speaking.
Did you sing a song?
No, I think I prepared them.
Did you sing a song?
No. When I'm cleaning windows up.
Yes, exactly. Yes. Oh dear. The laugh.
Yeah, we'd love to hear from you in the Facebook group if you've got a biggest achievement. We really would love to hear anything that you're aspiring to or things that you've achieved over your life that you're particularly proud of. Do share.
And how you did it and how you make time for it.
Yes, how you did it is quite important, isn't it? What were the success factors that added up towards your achievement? Yeah.
That's the second point of the question on this, which is it's not just what's my greatest achievement, but it's how did I bring it about? How did we do it?
Yeah. What did it take? Good. What's your word of the week then?
Well, I'll just warn you before I say that we've got a little bit of a delay now.
Yes, I've realised.
Okay, so my word of the week is upliftment, and what I was trying to explain to you last week about television, and my focus is on being uplifted and uplifting others, and no sooner had I explained that yesterday in I Love My Life than I'd chosen Abraham on YouTube, where she talked about precisely that and used exactly that word, upliftment. There are no coincidences, Nicola.
No, there aren't. So my word is prepper, because it turns out that that's what I've turned into.
Yes, how funny.
With my piles of beans and rice and pasta and things like that.
I mean, now speaking of armed and dangerous, you've actually been to the range and have got the training.
I have, and I was actually the best shot out of all of them, including one who'd been in the army.
You may need to protect your stash.
We're on the second floor here, so there is only one means of egress. So but
you could take shots very nicely from that vantage point.
You could, yes, pop shots, exactly. Right, project updates then. Nothing really here.
Nothing here either.
Okay, we'll move swiftly on then.
Okay.
Who or what's impressed?
You go.
I haven't really seen enough of MasterChef to be talking about that yet, but there's something coming soon that I like the look of a lot. It's a dark comedy, young adult, called on Netflix, called I Am Not Okay With This. And it's written by Charles Forsman, who is a graphic novelist. Now, I quite like graphic novelist things turned into drama. I really liked Preacher, and that was a graphic novel thing. Let me read you the little description of
blurb. Yep.
Yeah, Sydney, Sydney, is a teenage girl navigating the trials and tribulations of high school while dealing with the complexities of her family, her budding sexuality, and mysterious superpowers just beginning to wake deep within her. She looks like a boy, so there's a bit of androgyny going on, and it's got an 8 on IMDb or whatever it's called. Absolutely looking forward to it. It looks great just from the trailer. So I'll let you know how that goes next week. Okay. What about you?
The new 432 Hertz music, the one that I recommended with the gold fireworks and the inbuilt affirmations about abundance. It's called Weirdly, Attract Abundance of Energy, Money and Prosperity Luck. There are no commas, so I've no idea what the creator means by that. But it seems to include all the good words, energy, money, prosperity, luck, and which I always think of as good fortune, which is slightly different meaning to the Chinese, and also double entendre. I've already shared it in the Facebook group, free to join for any listener who hasn't yet done that. And I'm getting some good feedback from people about how much they've enjoyed it.
Oh, good.
Well, I like the gold colourway of it, yeah. And there's nothing for you to watch, but down the bottom left-hand corner, there are some nice affirmations. I just read those twice out loud, and then I keep the music on while I'm doing my wildly wealthy fast affirmations.
Right. I'm going to have a go at that today because I haven't had a chance yet.
Okay.
That's us done. Thank you very much.
All right. See you next week, babe.
Well, indeed.
All right. Bye.
It's a brand new day.
You've been listening to Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. Do come and visit us at ownitthepodcast.com. We love to hear your feedback. You can find out more about Judith and visit her on her website at judithmorgan.com, and you can find Nicola at nicolacairncross.com.